Behold, this moment you've brewed in shadows, this moment where everything you hated, everything you tried to forget, everything they said you couldn't do, suddenly looms in flames because you lit a match and their house of lies burned down. You hear that crackle in the darkness? That's not just fire, that's your vengeance. That's your truth, ripping through all their fabrications. That's every false promise, every whispered doubt, every mocking sneer getting consumed by flame. And as the smoke rises, you stand, still breathing, heart pounding, not stepping away, but stepping into the blaze. You walk into this fire, not afraid but mighty, because you know each lie had weight. Each deception built room after room, floor after floor, hidden passageways filled with shadows meant to trap you. They thought those walls could contain you, thought their illusions could keep you caged. But you've discovered the fuse. You found the slow spark in your own blood, in your own rage, in your own refusal to bow. How did you put that together, they'll ask. How did you figure out the blueprint they tried to hide? How you decomposed their scripts? How you mapped out every liar's verse so meticulously that when you lit that match, collapse was inevitable. You built invisibly in darkness because when they aren't watching, you gather coal, you gather fuel, you gather understanding, you gather hurt until you realize their structure was all veneers, false veneers, wooden facades, brittle in furnace heat. Remember every time they told you you were nothing, every time they erased your voice, every time they twisted your truth into something ugly. You stored those moments inside you, collected them as shards, so that when the sun of your awakening rises, those shards become diamonds, sharp edges reflecting your clarity, cutting through their smog of deceit. Do not feel guilty for burning what was never yours, for burning what they stole, for burning the stories they told you were lies stitched in fear. They built that structure so that you would stay small and safe inside their idea of you. They made demands so heavy, you learned to carry their grand delusion on your shoulders. But you have said no. You have cracked the foundation by refusing to believe. You have undermined every pillar with your truth. You have listened to the whispers of your own soul when everyone else shouted illusions. Now, feel the heat. That heat is your power rising. It sears the memory of all their doubts. It excises every toxic root. It burns the ties that kept you tethered. Shame, guilt, manipulation, regret. Their applause hinged on your silence. You step back just enough to see the inferno, flames licking the edges of their lies, roaring with the sound of your liberation. The windows shatter. Their comfortable rooms of deceit dissolve. The corridors collapse. Their labyrinth of lies falls into ruin. Dust and smoke swirl, and in that chaos you emerge, raw, naked, unashamed. Some will watch in horror, thinking you destroyed something sacred. They will gasp. They will clutch their pearls. How did you put that together? They will sneer through clenched jaws. They will say you are reckless. They will say you are cruel. But the truth is, they built dangerous gates. They built prisons with velvet curtains. They built houses that burn slow, leaving those inside to suffocate on falsehood. You do not burn things lightly. You do not incinerate without reason. You light the match because any other path meant living someone else's lie forever. You light it because staying silent would mean your own collapse. You light it because your heart demanded you stand in the scorched field of what remains, and in that ruin build something authentic. Because from ashes rises not loss, but rebirth. Where smoke overwhelms, there is clarity in what remains. You see what walls withstood, what burned. You see iron beams of integrity amid the collapse. You see foundations in yourself you never gave them the privilege to soil. Hear me. This is not chaos. This is order returning. This is the cosmos rebalancing. Their house of lies believed itself indestructible. But lies fear truth. Lies shatter in confrontation. And you came confronting. You wove every memory, every betrayal, every shaming whisper into a map. You walked backwards through corridors lined with mirrors of their deceit until you found the hidden exit. You lit that match because you carried inside you the gasoline of truth. You had substance enough to combust their show of wealth, show of status, show of false love. Their walls simply weren't built for your fire. They were built for quiet acceptance, for compliance, for your minimum. But you raised standards. You claimed dignity. You fashioned armor out of wounds. And when that match ignited, you didn't pause. You didn't hesitate. You watched fear crest their faces. You saw what was supposed to protect them turn to ash around them. Because their protectors were lies. Their promises were lies. Their faces were masks. All of it combusted under your light. Now you stand in the aftermath. Charred beams across the ground remind you there was a structure worth burning because it had influence over you. Reminders of the power it held. Yet that power is gone. Burned off like old skin shed. You can smell the wreckage. You can taste the smoke. But breathe. Because every breath you take now is fuel for the future. Every ash grit under your boot reminds you how far you walked before the fire. Every shake in your hands reminds you survived. They'll say, was it worth it? They'll whisper, you destroyed more than them. Let them. They never asked your soul what it wanted. They never asked your heart what it needed. They only demanded your compliance, your silence. You answered by building. First inside. You constructed a backbone. You gathered courage. You mapped truth. You rehearsed confrontation. You held the flame in your mind long before letting it touch anything. This is not destruction for its own sake. This is purging. This is burning because something rotten infested the roots. This is blazing because infection spreads. You burned so that life could grow clearly. Look at the sky above the ruins, dark clouds smoldering, but the dawn insists. The horizon bleeds light. That is your future cresting after the storm. That light will carry you over charred ground into fields fertile with what remains. Your integrity, your truth, your power. You have seen lies, breathe, painted smiles. Betrayals, painted gold. Promises betray paths that led away. You have seen every mask peel off in your own mind until there was nothing left but you. Real you. Not the you they made to please, not the you they made to fear, but the you who refuses to tolerate deceit. So let them tremble. Let them stare with mouth agape. Because there is something intoxicating about fire, something righteous about burning down what never deserved to stand, something sacred about lighting one match and watching their house of lies collapse. You are not alone in that fire. Others live in smoke-choked rooms. Others suffocate in hollow praise. Others drown under ceilings propped up by lies. When you burned down theirs, you made visible the flame in theirs. You gave them courage. Their own matches may be unlit, but seeing your blaze will ignite theirs. Do not soften this. Do not apologize for the heat. Do not shrink your roar when ashes fall. Ashes are not shame. Ashes are proof. Proof you burned something that needed burning. Proof you dared. proof you walked through their fire and emerged unscarred in spirit. Tonight you sleep with smoke in your lungs, but morning you rise with lungs cleared by fire. The pain that lingered will fade. The imprint of lies on your bones will vanish. What doesn't burn away will become stronger, iron forged in flame. Remember that people lie because they fear truth. Lies thrive in silence. Lies cling when fear mouths them. But you spoke. You acted. You struck the match. Because fear is only powerful until someone refuses to bow. And once you refused, your fear became your almost impossible ally. Your audacity is your sword. Your refusal is your shield. Your fire is your truth. They will ask, how the hell did you put that together? As though building an inferno is simple as touching wood. As though understanding what is false is effortless. They will not see the long nights haunted by doubt. They will not see the torch you carried in invisibility. They will not see the solitude where you sharpened your clarity. But you know every rage-laced whisper that taught you what truths you must carry. You know every betrayal that refined what you will no longer accept. You know every lie you permitted so that you could see them, so that you could map them. Their house burned because it was built of straw and smoke. Their house burned because it depended on the weight of your doubt. Their house burned because you stopped feeding it. Their house burned because you stopped believing in their myth. And now you stand in the light they never dreamed you would reach. You stand on ground they thought would always tremble under their lies. You stand tall because your foundation is honesty. Because your blueprint was truth. Use this moment. Use the taste of smoke on your tongue. Use the echo of collapsing timbers in your ears. Let it remind you of what you will never return to. Let it remind you what you will never allow again. Because now you build from ruins. Build your voice. Build your courage. Build relationships with roots deeper than their flimsy pillars. Build trust crafted not from promises, but from proof. Build walls not to cage, but to protect what matters. Do not rebuild their house. Do not salvage what was built to deceive. Let new frames rise higher with stronger materials. Let your structure be transparency. Let your architecture be authenticity. And if ever doubt creeps back, if ever fear whispers of burning, again remember, the match is in you. You always had it. You found it. You carried it. You needed it at the right time. When shadows fall and lies rebuild in another guise, you will know, because you have burned once. You understand the smell of rot. You understand the pattern of deceit. You are the fire they fear. You will light their next structure on fire too, if it demands you. You will scorch the new illusions. You will expose the masks. You will not be fooled again, so rise now with ash on your boots, smoke in your lungs, fire in your heart. Let the world see that someone dared to burn what needed burning. Let the world see what truth built looks like. Let no one ever again ask, how the hell did you put that together, without trembling? Because you put that together with truth, with courage, with refusal, with every tear and rage and sleepless night, with every fragment they thought worthless but you collected, with your voice when they tried to silence you. Let that be the story you tell. You lit a match, and their house of lies burned down. Now go, live in the ash and the light, build from the rubble, and let all who come after you see that fire is not your destruction, but your becoming. And so you walk from the wreckage, not as a fugitive, not as an arsonist of chaos, but as a force of reckoning. You didn't come to watch it burn for pleasure. You came to reclaim what was stolen. You came to collapse illusions that had ruled too long. You came to set yourself, and anyone watching, free. The fire was never your enemy. It was your ally. It spoke the language of transformation. And it asked you only one thing. Will you let it hurt so it can heal? You said yes. You didn't whisper it. You roared it through grit teeth. You said yes with trembling hands but unwavering resolve. You said yes while they still smirked in the doorways of their precious house, sipping on their power, smug in their belief that you'd never dare. But you dared. You stepped into their sanctum knowing what it cost. Not just your time, not just your name, but your comfort, your peace, your innocence. You exchanged all of it to carry one small flame, lit not by vengeance but by clarity. That's what they never understood. It wasn't hate that guided your hand, it was truth. And truth is never gentle when it meets deception. Truth doesn't knock. It breaks the door off its hinges and floods the house with light. It burns because it must. Now you see what remains. Ashes, yes, but also air. You can finally breathe. The fog is gone. The echo chamber that only reflected their version of reality is gone. The suffocating tapestries stitched with half-truths and self-serving narratives are gone. You don't mourn the loss. You don't regret the fire. You regret only the time you spent doubting whether you were right to strike the match. You regret the hours you bent yourself backward trying to fit into blueprints never designed for your shape. You regret the silence you mistook for peace, the numbness you mistook for healing, because the fire taught you the difference. Now they look at you with wide eyes, as if they've never seen you before. And maybe they haven't. Maybe no one has. Maybe even you are seeing yourself for the first time, lit in the orange glow of absolute courage. How the hell did you put that together? They ask. Like you conjured a storm, like you summoned lightning into your bare hands. You didn't. You simply paid attention. You listened to the inconsistencies. You felt the chill behind their warmth. You watched the smiles never reach their eyes. You heard the cracks in their perfect stories. You saw how everything they built only stood because no one dared ask what it was made of. But you asked. You questioned the frame. You knocked on the walls and heard the hollowness. You noticed how the house creaked under even the lightest truth. So you didn't attack blindly. You studied. You understood. And when you lit the match, it wasn't random. It was precise, surgical, just one spark in the right place, and the whole illusion couldn't help but fall. You are not a destroyer, you are a revealer. You are what happens when someone sees too clearly to pretend anymore. And now that the flames have settled and smoke gives way to morning, people will try to explain what happened. They'll write their own versions. They'll cast you as the villain because it's easier to blame the fire than face the rot. Let them talk. Let them spin. Let them run. Because the only thing louder than their outrage is their fear. Fear that others will follow your path. Fear that others will light their own matches. Fear that the architecture of lies will not survive another fire. You've become legend now, not for destruction, but for refusal. You refuse to stay quiet, refuse to keep pretending, refuse to let them dictate what you are allowed to see, feel, or believe. And in that refusal, you found your weapon. They never saw it coming, because they never thought you'd believe yourself more than them. They never thought you'd choose truth over belonging, but you did. And here's what they don't realize. You never stop after one fire. Because once you've seen how fragile the false world is, you can never unsee it. Once you've felt the warmth of your own righteous fury, The coldness of compliance becomes unbearable. You're not addicted to fire. You're addicted to truth. Fire is simply the means. Fire is simply the language the world must sometimes speak to cleanse itself of rot. Now people gather at the edge of what once stood, looking to you, some with awe, some with anger, some with desperate hope. You don't speak, not yet, because your silence now is not submission. It's power, it's presence, it's the deep, quiet knowing that you did what had to be done. But when you do speak, when you finally open your mouth and let the words rise from the ash-covered throne you now sit on, the world will listen, because your voice will not be tainted with lies. It will not echo with apologies you don't owe. It will not tremble with uncertainty. It will be the voice of someone who has walked through fire and come out cleansed, burned perhaps, but purified. And for the ones still trapped in houses, like the one you destroyed, your voice will be more than sound. It will be salvation. It will be a call to arms. It will be a reminder that no illusion is too strong to fall, no lie too old to die, no structure too mighty to be undone by the smallest spark of awareness. So if they ask again, if they scream it in confusion, in fear, in disbelief, how the hell did you put that together? You can answer, not with words, but with the way you live now, free, unshackled, unafraid. Let them watch you build. Let them see you create with your own hands what they said couldn't exist. A life not built on deception, but on bedrock truth. A soul unbroken by their system. A future crafted from firelight and raw, unapologetic clarity. And if the next lie rises, if the next false house begins to cast its long shadow over your world, you won't hesitate. You won't waver. Because now you carry the match and you're not afraid to use it. Because here's the truth they never wanted you to learn. When you light that match and their house of lies goes up in flames, they don't just lose their comfort, they lose control. Control over the narrative, control over you, control over the lies they told so often that they started to believe them too. You didn't just disrupt their fantasy, you exposed it. You pulled it into the sunlight and made it burn with shame. You cracked their code, dismantled their illusion, saw the strings behind the puppet show, and cut them with surgical precision. They told you the world would fall apart if you said something. They warned you that truth was dangerous, but they meant dangerous for them, not for you. They meant you'd make them uncomfortable. You'd strip them bare. You'd break the spell they had everyone under. That perfect performance, those curated masks, those golden words hiding leaden hearts. But when you see it once, you can never unsee it. And it's not just their house you'll burn. You'll walk into the halls of every lie they've whispered in the ears of others. You'll speak in rooms where silence used to rule. You'll carry your fire not like a weapon, but like a torch, lighting up the places where shadows used to reign. And the best part? They know they can't stop you anymore. That's what terrifies them. They don't ask, how the hell did you put that together? Because they're curious. They ask it because they're scared. Because they thought they were clever. They thought their version of the story was airtight. They thought you'd stay quiet, stay soft, stay small. But you were paying attention the whole time. You were connecting dots they didn't even know were visible. You were watching with eyes trained by betrayal, by silence, by survival. And you did what they could never do. You faced the truth without flinching. They wrapped the world in pretty lies. You ripped it open and stepped through. And now you wear your scars like armor and walk with a presence that cannot be imitated. Let them stare. Let them tremble. Let them plot. They'll never be able to put it back together again. Not after you burned it. Not after the truth spilled out in smoke and ash. And as you build, slowly, ruthlessly, honestly, they will come. Some will come to kneel, asking how they can do the same. Some will come to beg you to stop. And some will come just to watch, because they've never seen someone unafraid before. But you don't owe them anything, not explanations, not forgiveness, not grace. You owe yourself now, only yourself. And that's what freedom tastes like. Because when you burned their house of lies, you didn't just end something, you began something. Welcome back, Alpha audience. I know you've been through the storm. I know you've faced moments that tried to break you. Moments where the world seemed to turn against you, where enemies and critics appeared out of nowhere to bring you down and destroy everything you've worked for. I know what it's like to feel the weight of their lies, the venom of their deceit, the cruelty of their intentions. But here's the truth. They tried to frame you, but what they didn't understand, what they failed to realize is that they were walking straight into their own trap, and now they're the ones who will have to face the consequences. You see, they thought they could break you. They thought they could build their little webs of manipulation around you and watch you struggle, caught in their lies. But they underestimated one thing, the strength within you, the resilience that resides deep inside your soul. They didn't know what you were made of, because if they did, they would have never dared to play this game with you. They would have never thought they could defeat you in your own arena, because you are not the one who is weak. You are not the one who is vulnerable. You are the hunter, not the prey. You are the predator in the dark, not the victim. And now the tables are turning. Their game is unraveling at the seams, and they have no one to blame but themselves. Because when you have a mind that is sharp enough, and a spirit that is unyielding enough, the truth always finds its way to the surface. No matter how many lies they spread, no matter how many false accusations they throw your way, the truth is an unstoppable force, and it will expose them for what they really are. Liars, manipulative, cowards, who thought they could play with fire without getting burned. In the darkness where they thought they had you trapped, you were silently observing, calculating every move, every word, every scheme they tried to put in place against you. You were never caught off guard. You were never surprised, because you knew exactly what they were up to. You knew exactly how they operated, and you were ready for it, while they were too busy celebrating their supposed victory. You were already planning your counterattack, because you were never just going to sit back and allow them to destroy you. You knew better than that. You knew the price of silence was too high. The cost of inaction was too great. So you chose to fight back. They thought they could destroy your reputation. They thought they could tarnish your name and turn others against you. But what they didn't account for is the power of your integrity. They didn't realize that the truth has a way of spreading faster than lies ever could when they tried to frame you. They were only making a fatal mistake. They assumed they could silence you, but instead, they gave you the ammunition you needed to expose them for who they truly are. And now the whole world can see the truth. They tried to bring you down, but they just ended up digging their own grave. Now look at them trapped in their own lies, suffocating under the weight of their deceit, while you stand strong, unshaken, unbroken, and triumphant, because you didn't fold under pressure. You didn't buckle when they came for you. Instead, you used their weapons against them and turned the tide in your favor. Every lie they told became a weapon in your hand, a tool to unravel their plot, piece by piece. And now the truth is undeniable. They cannot escape it, no matter how much they try to twist and turn. They are caught in the very web they tried to create for you. It is a beautiful thing to witness when the oppressors who sought to break you realize that they have only broken themselves. They thought they could frame you. They thought they could control the narrative. But in the end, they became the victims of their own deceit. And as they struggled to find their way out of the trap they set for you, they realized too late that they have no escape. They tried to destroy your life, but instead, they have sealed their own fate. And you, my friend, are standing tall, watching it all unfold. You may have been in the shadows for a time, but that was only because you were biding your time, waiting for the right moment to strike. You didn't need to rush. You didn't need to panic because you knew that every storm has its end and every lie has its expiration date. They couldn't silence you. They couldn't keep you down because you were always destined for more than their petty schemes. You were always meant for greatness, and they couldn't take that away from you. No matter how hard they tried to frame you. But what they didn't know is that they were framing their own downfall. Every action they took, every false accusation they made only brought them closer to the point of no return. And now, they are facing the consequences of their own choices, while you are rising above it all, stronger, wiser, and more determined than ever before. Because you've learned something in the process. You've learned that the path to success is never easy, but it is always worth it. You've learned that the battles we face are never in vain, and that every challenge only makes us more powerful. So let them watch as you rise. Let them see the greatness that was always inside you, but that they could never destroy. Let them see your success. Let them watch as you move forward with a sense of purpose and a heart full of confidence, because you know who you are. You know what you're capable of, and nothing they can do will ever change. That they tried to frame you. They tried to bring you down, but they were the ones who got caught in their own trap. And now it's your turn to take back what is rightfully yours. The world will remember the story of how they tried to break you, how they tried to destroy you. But in the end, they only exposed themselves for what they truly are: weak, deceptive, and cowardly. And the world will also remember how you stood tall through it all, how you never faltered, how you never let their lies define you, because you knew that you are more than the sum of their accusations. You are more than the lies they spread. You are an alpha, and no one can take that away from you. And now, as you stand victorious in the aftermath of their failed plot, you can take pride in knowing that you faced your darkest hour and come out the other side stronger than ever. They thought they could frame you. They thought they could bring you down, but they didn't count on your power. They didn't count on your resilience, and now they will have to live with the consequences of their actions, while you continue to rise to heights they could never reach. Because you were never meant to be held back. You were never meant to be defeated. You were always destined for greatness, and nothing they do can change that. Because the truth about your strength is unshakable. They tried to push you down into the depths of despair. They tried to build their webs of lies around you, trying to hold you in place, trapping you like an insect in their deceitful hands. But they made one crucial mistake. They didn't know who they were dealing with. They didn't know that they were playing a game with someone who had already seen through the facade long before they could even strike. And in the end, their lies didn't become chains that could bind you. They became nothing more than tools that gave you leverage, the very leverage you needed to expose their weakness, to tear down their walls of manipulation. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about dominance. They thought they could break you. They thought they could take what's yours. But every move they made to frame you was a move that ultimately set the stage for your victory. And now, that stage is yours to command. Look at them now. Look at how they are scrambling, backpedaling, trying to cover their tracks. But the truth is out, and once the truth is out, there's no hiding. You were always meant to rise, to stand tall, to emerge stronger from the wreckage they tried to cause. They didn't realize that, in trying to destroy you, they were only strengthening you. Every lie they tried to weave around you only served to reveal their incompetence, their lack of foresight, their vulnerability. The world, despite all its chaos and its lies, has a way of turning things in your favor when you least expect it. When they were trying to trap you, they thought they were isolating you. They thought you would crumble under pressure, that the weight of their accusations would suffocate you. But what they didn't understand is that the pressure is exactly what turns coal into diamonds. The weight of their falsehoods only forged a stronger version of you. You were never meant to fold. You were never meant to be a victim. You were always going to be the one who showed the world how to fight back, how to stand firm in the face of adversity, how to let your strength shine brighter than the lies they tried to bury you in. And this is your moment. The moment when everything comes full circle. The moment when you realize that all the darkness they tried to throw at you only made you burn brighter. It's your light, your clarity, your ability to see through their deception that has become their downfall. They might have thought they were clever, that their lies would pull the wool over your eyes, that they would be able to walk away with their hands clean, but they forgot one key thing. They underestimated your ability to see through the fog of their manipulation. You saw every tactic they used. You recognized every move, every false word they spoke. They might have thought they were the ones playing the game, but in reality, you were always the one in control. They thought they could take away your power, but they only gave you more. Now, they stand before you, exposed. They thought they could tear down your reputation, destroy your credibility, but what they failed to see was that you are not defined by their lies. You are not defined by their false accusations. You are defined by the truth of who you are, by the strength of your spirit, by the battles you've fought and won. They tried to make you a target, a scapegoat, but in doing so, they only turned the spotlight on themselves. The very lies they told about you are the ones that reveal their true nature. The world now sees them for what they are: deceitful, manipulative, and weak. While you, on the other hand, stand as a beacon of truth, a symbol of resilience, a testament to the fact that no matter how hard the world tries to break you, you will always rise again, stronger than ever. Let them see the consequences of their actions. Let them watch as their lies crumble around them, as the foundation of their manipulations falls apart. They built their empire on deceit, and now that empire is collapsing, piece by piece. They tried to frame you, they tried to tear you down, but in the end, they've only exposed their own weaknesses. They thought they could win this battle with lies, but lies can never withstand the power of truth. They thought they could hold you down, but what they didn't understand is that you were never meant to stay down. You were always meant to rise above them, to surpass them, to show them what true power looks like. And as they watch their world burn, they will realize the price they've paid for their deceit. The consequences of their actions are irreversible. They thought they could frame you. They thought they could destroy you. But instead, they have sealed their own fate. You have played this game with precision, with patience, with strategy. And now you stand victorious, unscathed, while they are left to face the fallout of their own lies. The world may not always be kind, but it always finds a way to expose the truth. And the truth, my friend, is that you were never the one who was vulnerable. You were always the one who had the strength, the intelligence, the willpower to turn every attempt to bring you down into an opportunity to rise higher than before. They tried to frame you, but they couldn't frame your spirit. They tried to destroy you, but they couldn't destroy your will. They thought they could control the narrative, but in doing so, they only gave you the power to control your own destiny. And now, as they are left in the ruins of their own creation, you stand as a testament to the power of truth, resilience, and strength. You stand as a reminder to everyone who has ever been targeted, manipulated, or betrayed that there is always a way out. There is always a way to rise above the lies, above the deceit, and above the cruelty of those who would seek to destroy you. The game they thought they were playing is over. The trap they set for you has closed on them. And now, as you move forward, unstoppable, unshakable, you become an inspiration to all who have been wronged, to all who have faced adversity, to all who have been betrayed. You become the living proof that no matter how hard life may try to break you, no matter how deep the lies may run, you can always come out on top. You can always rise above the darkness and stand in the light of truth, stronger than ever before. So remember this moment. Remember the feeling of standing tall in the face of everything they tried to do to you. Remember that they tried to frame you. They tried to destroy you. But in the end, they only made you stronger. And as you look at them, as they struggle with the consequences of their own actions, you can stand proud knowing that you've won. Not because you played their game, but because you played it better. You played it smarter. You played it with integrity, and the truth has won. They tried to break you, but in the end, you were the one who broke them. And that, my friend, is a victory no one can ever take from you. The journey you've just completed, the victory you've earned, is not one that can be undone. They tried to take everything from you. They tried to strip you of your reputation, your peace of mind, your dignity, but in the end they learned that their attempts were futile. You've emerged from this battle stronger, unshaken, and more powerful than ever before. No one, and I mean no one, can ever take that from you. What they failed to realize is that they were not just attacking your physical being, your image, or your career. They were attacking the very essence of who you are. And that essence, that spirit, that will to rise above, is invincible. It cannot be broken. It cannot be corrupted. It cannot be stolen. When they tried to frame you, they thought they were playing a clever game. They believed that by creating a false narrative, by spinning lies and planting seeds of doubt, they could cause you to crumble. But they didn't understand the kind of force they were dealing with. They didn't know that you had been through far worse and come out victorious. You are a warrior forged in fire, tempered by experience, and strengthened by every setback you've ever faced. And what they failed to realize is that every challenge, every obstacle they tried to place in your path only made you more resilient, more relentless, more determined. In the face of their deceit, you didn't react the way they thought you would. They wanted you to panic. They wanted you to lash out in anger, to make mistakes, to show signs of weakness that they could use to tear you down further. But you remained calm. You remained composed. You understood that this was just another challenge, another battle, and that the key to victory wasn't reacting impulsively. It was responding with calculated precision. You didn't let their lies shake your confidence. You didn't let their schemes make you second-guess yourself. Because deep down, you knew the truth, and the truth is far more powerful than any lie they could create. As the storm raged around you, you were the eye of the hurricane. You watched as their accusations piled up. Their false narratives grew more complex. Their attempts to entangle you in their web became more desperate. But with each passing moment, you became more certain that they were only digging their own graves. They were so consumed with trying to trap you that they failed to see they were already trapped themselves. They were so blinded by their hatred, their jealousy, or their fear of your success that they couldn't even recognize the hole they were digging beneath their own feet. And that hole has now swallowed them whole. You see, when you operate from a place of truth and integrity, You are a force that cannot be denied. It doesn't matter how many lies they tell. It doesn't matter how many people they manipulate. It doesn't matter how many times they try to paint you as the villain. Eventually, the truth comes to light. And when it does, it exposes everything. It exposes their motives. It exposes their insecurities. It exposes their weaknesses. That's what they failed to understand when they tried to frame you. They thought they could hide in the shadows, weaving their webs, and no one would ever notice. But they didn't know that the light of truth is far stronger than any shadow they could cast. And now, as the light shines on their lies, they are being exposed for what they are: cowards, manipulators, and frauds. The very web they created to entrap you has become the noose around their own necks. Let's be clear about something. Their actions were not about you. They weren't about destroying your life or destroying your reputation. Even though that's what they wanted you to believe, their actions were about their own insecurities, their own fear, their own inability to cope with the fact that you were a threat to them. They saw your potential, your strength, and your resilience, and it terrified them. They couldn't stand the idea of you rising higher than them. They couldn't stomach the thought of you succeeding when they felt so small. So they plotted, they schemed. They tried to take you down, to humble you, to make you feel small, insignificant, and weak. But what they didn't realize is that you are a force of nature. You are not someone who folds under pressure. You are not someone who can be broken by their petty games. Their plans were never going to succeed. The forces of nature themselves have nothing on the power of someone who is willing to stand firm in their truth, someone who is willing to face adversity head on without blinking. And that's exactly what you did. You faced their attacks. You faced their lies. You faced the darkest, most treacherous part of their plot, and you came out on top. Not because of luck, not because of some external force, but because you are who you are. You are someone who never gives up. You are someone who thrives in the face of adversity. And above all, you are someone who knows that the only thing that can truly defeat you is your own willingness to stop fighting. And you will never stop fighting. It's this unyielding spirit, this refusal to be broken, that has turned the tide in your favor. Because while they tried to break you with their lies, they were only breaking themselves. You, my friend, have witnessed their downfall, and it's been beautiful to behold. There's nothing more satisfying than watching those who sought to destroy you turn on each other, watching them struggle to escape the consequences of their own deceit. They thought they could build their empire on lies, but as it always does, the truth eventually crumbles their foundations. And you stand tall in the wreckage, unscathed, because you never allowed their lies to become your truth. You've now seen the true nature of the people who tried to bring you down. You've seen their weakness, their desperation, and their inability to stand up on their own merit. They needed to tear you down to make themselves feel bigger. They needed to see you fail so that they could convince themselves that they were winning. But in the end, they've only exposed their own insecurities, their own frailties, and their own lack of substance. They tried to frame you, to turn you into something you are not. But they forgot one thing. The truth cannot be hidden forever. They thought they were playing chess, but you were playing a deeper game, one they could never understand. The victory is yours, and it's a victory that no one can take from you. So now, as they struggle to rebuild their shattered lives, as they try to come up with new lives, new schemes to salvage what little dignity they have left, you will continue to rise. You will continue to move forward, unshaken by the chaos they created. You will continue to walk with your head held high because you know who you are. You know what you've endured. You know the strength that lies within you, and no amount of deceit, no amount of manipulation can ever take that away from you. They tried to frame you, but in the end, they framed themselves. And while they fall, you will rise, and your rise will be unstoppable. The lessons you've learned, the strength you've gained, will propel you to greater heights than they could ever imagine. The darkness they tried to cast upon you will only serve to illuminate your path. Because when you are driven by truth, by integrity, by strength of character, there is nothing that can stand in your way. So let them watch. Let them squirm in the consequences of their own making. Because you, my friend, are destined for greatness. In the end, their attempts to break you, to frame you, to destroy you, only highlighted your strength and resilience. They thought they could bring you down, but instead, they exposed their own weaknesses. As they struggled with the fallout of their deceit, you stand tall, stronger than ever, a true testament to the power of truth, integrity, and relentless determination. No matter how hard they try, they could never take from you what truly matters: your spirit, your strength, and your destiny. You've emerged victorious, and nothing will ever change that. Keep rising, for the world is yours. Now listen, not with your ears, but with the part of your soul that remembers fire. Because I'm not here to comfort you. I'm not here to sweeten your wounds or patch them with hollow praise. I'm here because the world just watched something unforgettable. You, yes, you, didn't just break through. You scarred the memory of what came before. You didn't just win. You rewrote the rules of damage, and now that damage is stitched into their identity, their name, their legacy, will never again be spoken without remembering you. Take a breath, feel it. That weight on your shoulders, that's not guilt, that's power. Because what you did, it wasn't an accident. It wasn't a lucky break. It wasn't handed to you. You took it. You gripped the moment by its throat and carved your name into it so deep, history will forget what it looked like before you arrived. They will never say their name again without yours echoing in the shadows behind it. You think that kind of damage disappears? Number. It lingers. It stains. And that stain, you painted it. With effort, with obsession, with pain that would have broken anyone else. They didn't see you coming. That's what makes this all so brutal. You were quiet, but not weak. You were still, but not stagnant. You were watching, learning, collecting your darkness like fuel. And when the moment came, when the door creaked open just wide enough, you didn't knock. You didn't wait. You kicked it in and made them feel what it means to be remembered for the wrong reason. You made the damage historical. It wasn't just about winning. It wasn't just about proving a point. It was about sending a ripple through time that says, this is what happens when you overlook the wrong one. You weren't trying to impress them. You were building the kind of fire that doesn't ask for approval, the kind that consumes. And now their pride is shattered glass under your boots. And the best part? It wasn't personal. It was necessary. This isn't about revenge. This is about dominance, the kind that's quiet, slow, irresistible, the kind that sinks in and stays. You didn't just break their spirit. You changed their shape. You altered the map. You burned your path so hot behind you that no one can ever walk it again without feeling the heat of your shadow. They will carry your impact like a scar. In every future step, in every desperate attempt to rebuild, they'll remember, not because they want to, but because they have to. You're in the story now, not as a chapter, as the reason it flipped into a tragedy. Don't smile yet. This isn't celebration. This is acknowledgement. You earned this. Every sleepless night, every failure, Every time you were underestimated, mocked, ignored, that silence, that solitude, that wasn't weakness. That was your sharpening stone. You made them look in the mirror and hate what they saw. And they'll try to move on, try to pretend, try to write new headlines. But under it all, one truth will stick like glass in their lungs. What you just did left permanent damage. It's not just a moment, it's a mark, etched into their name like a curse. When they rise, they will rise with the limp you gave them. When they speak, it will echo with the cracks you left behind. They won't even know how to be whole again, because you didn't just take a piece of them, you redefined the blueprint. This is more than victory. This is legacy. This is what it looks like when someone steps into their power, not to be liked, not to be noticed, but to dominate in silence, to strike with purpose, and to vanish, leaving behind only dust and the question, who was that? They won't sleep the same, not for a long time, because the thing about historical damage, it doesn't scream, it haunts, and no apology, no rebuild, no comeback can undo what you did, because it's not about the act, it's about the impact. It's about how their confidence now trembles in places it once stood tall. It's about how the world saw it, felt it, and chose your side, because raw power, it doesn't ask for permission. You didn't just win, you altered the narrative. You weren't part of the scene. You burned down the whole set and made the ashes speak your name. This is what happens when quiet becomes pressure, when patience becomes violence, when preparation meets inevitability. You made the damage historical, and now they sit in silence, not because they choose to, but because you took the sound out of their confidence. You see, there's a unique kind of destruction that doesn't shatter glass or crumble walls. It shatters identity. That's what you delivered. You didn't just take something from them. You forced them to question who they are without the illusion of invincibility they once wore so proudly. They'll replay it over and over. The moment the lights went out in their certainty, the moment their plan turned into dust in their hands. That's the thing about pressure. It exposes everything. You didn't bring chaos. You brought truth. Truth so sharp, it cut through their pride like a whisper through glass. And now, the name they built with sweat and showmanship, it's stained. Every time they hear it, every time someone else says it, there will be a shadow cast behind it, your shape. You've become a part of their identity whether they want it or not. You didn't ask for space. You carved it into their story. And listen, this isn't just about what you did to them. This is about what you unlocked in yourself. The moment you realized you didn't need to match anyone's expectations. You didn't need validation. You needed opportunity. And when it finally cracked open, you exploded through it, like thunder too proud to wait for the lightning. You see, some people train for applause. You trained for aftermath. Because the ones who truly shift the game, they aren't loud at first. They're buried, ignored, stepped over, until one day they rise like a storm that's been studying the land. And when that moment comes, no one can explain it. No one can prepare for it. No one survives it the same. That's what you are now. An event, a marker in time, a point where things divided. Before you and after you, people will talk. They'll create excuses. They'll fabricate reasons. They'll pretend there were factors beyond your control. That's what the broken do when they're trying to save face. Let them talk. Let them cling to whatever narrative helps them sleep. Because deep down, they know They know you didn't flinch. You didn't blink. You stared down the moment with unshakable silence and did exactly what you came to do. Leave a scar no time can fade. What you did wasn't random. It wasn't luck. It was intent. Precise. Measured. Cold. The kind of intent only born through pain, through pressure, through preparation without witnesses. You did what most don't even dare to imagine. You held the storm until it became muscle, then unleashed it with purpose. You made the damage historical, not memorable, not impressive, historical. They'll write it in whispers, document it in fragments, try to erase your fingerprints, but they won't be able to. You left too much. You changed too much. You weren't an accident in their story. You were the moment the whole narrative collapsed. They'll try to rebuild, but how do you rebuild when the foundation remembers you? And don't forget, the world watched. The quiet ones, the underestimated ones, the dismissed. They saw you, and in your fire, they found a mirror. You didn't just do this for yourself. You gave others permission to rise, to strike, to abandon the waiting and become the thing that no one expects. You're not a role model, you're a warning, a reminder that the overlooked should never be ignored, because when they finally move, they don't just shift positions, they break the axis. And now the damage has a name, your name. You branded it into the timeline, a fire hot enough to reshape maps, to rewrite plans, to reprogram assumptions, and no one's safe from that kind of truth. Not when it hits with the precision of someone who's been patient for far too long. You weren't seeking attention. You were becoming the storm in silence. The aftermath is louder than anything you ever needed to say. Your proof lives in the shake of their voices when they speak, in the silence between their sentences, in the regret they don't dare speak out loud. Because now they live in the shadow of what you did. Every next step they take is across the ashes of their own illusion. And you don't need to look back. You don't need to explain. Because when you've caused historical damage, you don't return to the scene. The scene returns to you. And now the question hangs in the air like smoke after a fire. What do you do after this? After you've shaken the ground beneath them so hard, they'll never trust solid earth again. After you've shown the world that silence is not absence, it's strategy. That stillness is not weakness, it's war in waiting. What do you do now? You build bigger fires. Because now that they know your name, now that they fear what you're capable of, the worst thing you could do is pause. You think this was the peak? Number. This was the declaration. A signal flare to the universe that says, I am not done. I am just getting started. Because historical damage isn't a finish line, it's a starting gun. It's the spark that lights the kind of path that can't be mapped, because no one's ever dared to walk it before. And the ones who survive you, they won't talk about your power. They'll talk about your precision. They'll talk about the moment they realized you weren't trying to destroy them. You were executing clarity, a mission forged in silence, a war no one else could see until it was too late. There's no going back now. That door? Burned. That past? Ashes. You've already paid the price, and the world has changed shape around what you did. The air is different now. Time moves slower when your name is mentioned. There's tension, there's weight, because they all know what you're capable of. And if this is what you did when you were overlooked, imagine what comes next now that they're watching. That's the terrifying part for them. You've already done the damage, already left a permanent mark. So what happens now? When you have momentum, when you have fear on your side, When the same people who used to underestimate you now study your every move like it's a survival manual. Let them watch, because you don't owe them comfort. You don't owe them softness. You don't owe them anything. You built this with pressure and pain, with silence and scars, with losses that would have collapsed weaker souls. And now you stand at the edge of the aftermath, calm, focused, unshaken. Why? Because deep down, you expected this. You knew what was coming. You didn't hope. You trained. Every moment they didn't see you, you were becoming a force that couldn't be measured until it was too late. They didn't notice you until the walls fell, until the ceiling collapsed, until the storm was standing at their doorstep, not asking for entry, but tearing the door from its hinges. You didn't come to be part of the system. You came to redefine its limits. And now that the damage is historical, your existence alone becomes a question they can't answer. How do you stop someone who doesn't care if they're understood? How do you defend against someone who doesn't need applause, only impact? You can't, because you've become something more than opposition. You've become consequence. And that's the difference. The world is full of people trying to be loud, to be seen. But consequence is quiet. Consequence waits. It moves with intention. It doesn't boast. It breaks. So now they stand, surrounded by the ruins of their certainty, trying to stitch together a narrative that explains how it all fell apart. And no matter how they tell the story, your name is always there. The turning point, the fracture, the moment things started to unravel. Because what you did wasn't flashy, it was final. They'll try to rebuild, but they'll never rebuild the same. You don't come back from this untouched. This isn't the kind of storm you recover from. It's the kind you adapt to. And from now on, every choice they make is filtered through the memory of you. What would have once been easy is now hesitation. What once felt invincible is now cautious. You tilted the entire scale, not with a scream, but with a shift. You made the damage historical, so don't stop now. You've already crossed the line where most people break. And you didn't just survive it, you weaponized it. You turned the pain into a pattern. You turned the loss into a lesson. You took every scar and made them map lines toward this exact moment. Because the greatest kind of power isn't the kind they see coming. It's the kind that walks through the ashes of your enemies and leaves behind only silence. And that's what you are now, a silence too loud to ignore, a presence too real to forget, a damage too permanent to erase. They'll spend years trying to figure out how it happened. They'll study your moves, try to predict your mindset, search for the key to stop someone like you. But they'll fail, because what you are can't be replicated. This wasn't born overnight. This was built in the dark. Over years, through storms, through humiliation, through moments of defeat where no one was watching, and you chose to keep going anyway. You're not just a name, you're a lesson, one that will echo far longer than they're willing to admit. And that's where your true power lives, not or just in what you've done, but in what you represent. Every person who's ever been dismissed is watching. Every soul who was told they weren't ready, weren't enough, weren't seen. They saw you light a path that says, you don't have to be understood to be unstoppable. And so you stand here now, in the aftermath of the storm you unleashed. The damage you made isn't just part of their history, it defines it. It's not something they can gloss over or pretend never happened. It's a permanent scar, a monument built on the ruins of everything they thought unbreakable. But this moment, This power you hold is not the end. It's a beginning. Because when damage becomes historical, when your impact rewrites the story, it also ignites the future. It forces the world to shift beneath your feet, to make space for a new reality, one where you are the standard, not the exception. Every step forward is built on the cracks you created. Every battle fought after this will carry the echoes of your presence. They will try to rebuild, to rise, to heal. But the blueprint is changed. And no matter how hard they try, the shadow of what you did will follow, a reminder of what happens when someone refuses to be forgotten, refuses to be silent, refuses to be erased. You made the damage historical because you were never willing to accept less than everything. You made it permanent because your will is stronger than their memory. And you made it part of their name because you understood a brutal truth. That true power isn't about being loved or even respected. It's about being remembered. It's about being the reason the world pauses, the reason history doesn't turn the page quietly. This is your legacy, not because you wanted to hurt or destroy, but because you were relentless in pursuit of your truth, because you refused to bow down to expectations, to limits, to the cage they built around you, because you chose to be the storm. So carry that weight with pride. Carry it as a reminder that you are the force that shifted everything, the unignorable presence that changed the course of their story. What you just did left permanent damage. But that damage is not a weakness. It's your mark, your signature on the fabric of time. And in the end, when they speak your name, whether in fear, respect, or disbelief, they will know one thing for certain. You were unstoppable. You were inevitable. You made the damage historical. But understand this, historical damage is a double-edged blade. It cuts both ways. While it defines them, it also defines you. It shapes the fire you carry inside. Because once you've made a mark so permanent, so undeniable, there's no stepping back, no retreat, no softening of edges, no second chances to be anything less than what you became in that moment. You become the storm, the earthquake, the silence after the scream. And there's a terrifying freedom in that, because nothing else matters anymore but the relentless pursuit of what's next. What comes after a legacy forged in fire? What comes after you've shattered the old world so completely that its pieces no longer fit? You build, you create, you rise from the wreckage you made, stronger, sharper, more dangerous, because damage, when made historical, is never the end. It's the foundation, the bedrock, the reason others will follow, chasing the blaze you lit. Look around. The world is full of ashes and bones of what once was, and you stand tall in the center of it all, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as the author of the change. The one who chose to burn the bridge behind them, so the only way forward was through the fire. And there's a truth they'll never admit. Fear isn't born from power. Fear is born from inevitability. They fear you not because you're loud or flashy. They fear you because they know you're coming. Because damage like yours isn't an accident. It's a statement, a promise, a warning etched into history. So, own it. Own the scars you left. Own the silence you created. Own the broken walls and shattered illusions. Because those are your trophies. Those are your proof. You didn't just take down what stood before you. You rewrote the rules of engagement. You turned pressure into purpose. You turned silence into a weapon. You turned every no and every doubt into fuel for a fire that refuses to die. Now, That fire is your legacy, and when they speak your name, let it be a reminder of the power that comes from those who refuse to be ignored, who refuse to be small, who refuse to be forgotten. You made the damage historical, and now history will never be the same. And here's the truth nobody talks about. When you make damage historical, you also become a legend of the shadows. Not the kind they write fairy tales about, but the kind whispered in corners, the kind that makes the bravest hesitate. Because damage like yours carries weight, a weight that shifts the atmosphere wherever you go. It's not something you can turn off. It's not something you shed like a costume. It becomes you. Your every move is measured against that moment. Your every silence charged with the echoes of what you shattered. And there's a power in that. An unyielding power that makes you more than just a person. It makes you a force of nature, a reckoning, a turning point no one can ignore. You learn quickly that the world doesn't forgive that kind of damage. It doesn't forget. It doesn't move on. It carries it like a wound that never fully heals, a memory that burns hotter with time. And while others are weighed down by regret or fear, you are the origin of the change, the one who stared into the abyss of their resistance and smiled, knowing that the damage you left behind wasn't just collateral, it was purpose. You forged your name into history by breaking what was broken beyond repair. You redefined what it means to be unstoppable, not by sheer force, but by the certainty of your impact. You became the moment that rewrote every expectation, shattered every illusion of safety, and made the impossible inevitable. Now, the question is, what will you do with that power, with the damage you made? Will you be the storm that passes and leaves only ruin? Or will you be the force that rebuilds from those ruins, stronger, wiser, more relentless? Because the greatest among us are not the ones who avoid damage. They are the ones who make it, who embrace it, who let it fuel the fire within and push them further than anyone dared to imagine. You are that kind of force. And remember this, history remembers the bold, the fearless, the unrelenting. History remembers those who change the game, who break the mold, who make the damage so permanent it can never be erased. You didn't just participate in this world, you changed it. You became a name that will be spoken long after the noise fades, a shadow that will stretch across every future story. Because you didn't settle for survival. You chose to make your mark so deep that it became part of the very fabric of their existence. So carry that truth like armor. Wear it like a crown forged from the very scars you gave them. You made the damage historical. And now, the world must live with the consequences. Isn't it poetic? The ones who thrive in shadows, who twist your reality and wear masks of virtue. They never think the prey will become the hunter. They laugh while spinning their webs, never suspecting that the same thread could strangle them. But here's the irony. They weren't just toying with you. They were setting a stage for their own downfall, because you were never meant to be the victim forever. No, you were armed with everything you needed to rise above the deceitful manipulations of the world around you. The truth is, you were destined for this very moment, and it's time to realize that God armed you to silence the manipulators once and for all. In their arrogance, they believed they could bend your will, make you bend to their desires, wrap you around their little fingers with the flick of their tongues and the promise of something they would never deliver. They thought you were weak. They thought you were just another pawn in their game. But they underestimated something crucial. They didn't count on your strength. They didn't foresee the power that God placed within you, the resilience and the unyielding fire that burns deep inside of you. Because that's the thing about manipulators. They can control so much. They can twist and turn reality so well, but they can never control what's truly inside of you unless you let them. And you know what? You've been given the weapons to fight back, the armor that will shield you from their venomous lies, and the strength to break free from their chains. It's time to embrace the truth that you've been equipped for battle, and not the kind of battle that is fought with physical weapons. No, the battle you're in is far more insidious. It's a battle for your mind and your soul. It's a battle where words are sharper than any sword, where the manipulation of emotions is the true weapon of destruction. And yet in this very battle, God has already armed you with the ultimate defense. The manipulators, they may try to cloud your mind. They may try to drown you in their falsehoods, but you've been given clarity by God, and that clarity will break through the darkness that they try to cast upon you the moment you choose to see the truth for what it is. You realize that they no longer have power over you. The illusions that once seemed so real begin to shatter before your eyes, and you stand in the light of truth with a renewed sense of purpose. For so long you believed their lies. You second-guessed your worth. You questioned your place in this world, all because they told you who you should be, what you should want, and how you should live. But none of it was ever real. It was all a mirage designed to keep you enslaved to their vision. But now you're awake, and with that awakening comes a responsibility to speak the truth. Even when it's uncomfortable to stand firm in your own power, even when the forces of deceit and manipulation try to knock you down, because you were never meant to shrink into the shadow. You were made to step into the light and show the world what real strength looks like. The manipulators will never understand that their hold over you is gone the moment you stop allowing them to dictate your reality. They thrive on fear. They thrive on confusion. But fear and confusion only exist when you allow them to take root in your mind, and once you realize that their power was nothing more than a mirage, you will no longer be afraid of their empty threats, their empty promises, their false smiles. You will rise above their tactics with a confidence and a peace that cannot be shaken, because you know that you are standing on the solid ground of truth. The truth that God has given you, the truth that cannot be bent or broken by the lies of others. When you realize your own worth, you stop tolerating the manipulative behaviors of others. You stop allowing people to use your emotions against you, to twist your thoughts to make you doubt yourself, because you know that your value is not determined by the opinions of others. It is determined by the Creator, who made you in His image, and who has already equipped you with the strength to fight back against every scheme of the enemy. And yes, it will take courage to stand up to the manipulations of the world, because the manipulators don't give up easily. They will try to draw you back into their web. They will try to make you believe that you are nothing without them. But here's the truth. Once you realize that you have been armed by God to silence them, you will never look back. You will never allow their lies to dictate your path again, because you are no longer the prey. You are the hunter. There is power in your silence. There is strength in your refusal to engage in their games. There is victory in your ability to walk away from the chaos they try to create around you, because you know that their tactics can only work if you give them permission to affect your peace and your life. When you silence the manipulators, you take back control of your destiny. And when you take back control of your destiny, you walk in the authority that God has given you to create a life that reflects His purpose and His truth. You are no longer bound to their whims, their lies, their falsehoods. You are free to step into the fullness of who you were always meant to be. But this journey will not be easy. The manipulators will resist your strength. They will resist your newfound confidence, because they know that the moment you embrace your power, they lose theirs. But remember, they cannot fight against what they cannot see. They cannot fight against the authority of God's truth in your life. And that's the key to your victory. They may try to raise their voices. They may try to make you question your path. But when you stand firm in the truth that God has armed you with, you will be unstoppable, because the weapons of manipulation cannot stand against the power of clarity, the power of discernment, the power of God's protection over your life. And when you silence the manipulators, they won't just be silenced in your life. They will be silenced in the world around you, because your very presence will begin to expose their lies, their schemes, and their deceptions to the light of truth. And the world will see them for what they truly are, not the virtuous beings they pretend to be, but the deceitful players they have always been. And in that moment, you will understand the full magnitude of your power and the authority that you have been given to dismantle every falsehood that they have ever tried to spread. It's time to stop running from the manipulators. It's time to stop letting them control your narrative. It's time to rise up and speak the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it may feel, because the truth is your greatest weapon. And the moment you decide to wield it with strength and conviction, there's nothing that can stand against you, nothing that can keep you from walking in the fullness of the life that God has designed for you. So understand this as you move forward in your life. The manipulators will always be there, lurking in the shadows, hoping to ensnare you again with their lies and their traps. But you now know the truth. You now know that you have been armed to silence them once and for all, and you will no longer be their prey. You will no longer allow them to control your life and your reality, because you are the hunter. You are the one who holds the power to expose the darkness and bring the light of truth to every corner of your existence. And in that truth, you will find freedom. And in that freedom, you will find peace. And in that peace, you will find the strength to continue fighting the good fight until every manipulator is silenced for good, and you stand victorious in the life that God has called you to live. This is your moment. This is your time to rise up and claim your power, silence the manipulators once and for all, and walk in the authority that has been given to you to create a life of truth, strength, and freedom. You have been armed for this battle, and with every step you take toward your destiny, you will know that you are never alone. God has equipped you with everything you need to win this fight. So step forward with confidence and let the world see what happens when the prey becomes the hunter, and the hunter walks in the full authority of the Almighty. When you stand in the full authority of the Almighty, you're no longer bound by the opinions or control of others. You're no longer a puppet in the hands of those who would seek to manipulate your thoughts, emotions, or actions. You are, in every sense of the word, free. Free to walk the path that was always intended for you, the path that no one else can dictate, the path where God, in His infinite wisdom and power, has already set every stone in place. When you step into this truth, you break free from the chains of doubt, fear, and confusion that the manipulators so carefully laid out before you. You begin to see the world for what it truly is and what it could be. A world where you no longer feel like a victim, but a conqueror. This shift in perception is where your power truly lies. The manipulators who once held sway over your heart and mind will find themselves powerless in the face of your newfound strength. For they can only control what they can bend. They can only control what they can twist and distort. But they cannot control the person you have become, the person you are always meant to be. The truth that you have inside of you is untouchable, unshakable, and unstoppable. God has built you for this very moment. The voices that once tried to tear you down now fade into the background. They no longer hold any weight over you, because you are standing in the light of truth, and you have been equipped for battle. The weapons of your warfare are not carnal, they are spiritual, and they are mighty. God has given you discernment. This is your greatest weapon. Discernment allows you to see through the lies, to cut through the fog of manipulation, and to see things as they truly are. It gives you the clarity to make decisions based not on fear or insecurity, but on the truth that is in your heart. It allows you to see the hearts of those around you, to understand their true intentions, and to know when they are speaking lies or when they are speaking truth. No longer will you be blindsided by the words of those who seek to control you. No longer will you be led astray by the promises of people who are only concerned with their own agendas. When you are armed with the gift of discernment, you see clearly, and clarity is power. But discernment alone is not enough. You must also have the strength to act upon it. This is where courage enters the picture. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the decision to move forward in spite of it. The manipulators rely on your fear. They thrive on it. They will try to intimidate you, to make you doubt yourself, to make you believe that standing up to them will result in your downfall. They will use guilt, shame, and threats to keep you in line. But you must remember that fear is nothing more than a tool they use to control you. When you stand firm in the authority that God has given you, when you embrace the truth of who you are and the purpose you are meant to fulfill, fear loses its power. It may still be present, but it will no longer have the grip on your life that it once did. You will choose courage over fear, action over passivity, and strength over weakness. It's not always easy to walk in the truth, especially when the manipulators are so entrenched in your life. They will try to make you doubt the clarity you've received. They will attempt to undermine your confidence, to make you question whether you're making the right choices. But the beauty of standing in the full authority of God is that He has already laid the groundwork for you. He has already provided the strength, the wisdom, and the courage you need to stand firm. He will never leave you, and He will never let you fall. You are not alone in this fight. You are surrounded by His presence, His power, and His guidance every step of the way. When you lean into that, when you place your trust in Him, you will find that you are capable of far more than you ever imagined. In the power of your silence, your refusal to engage in their manipulations becomes even more profound. When you refuse to participate in their games, you send a message that you are no longer interested in playing their way. They will no longer find an audience for their lives. The more you stand firm, the more you refuse to bend, the more they will reveal themselves for who they truly are. The false masks they wear will begin to crack, and the true nature of their manipulation will be exposed for all to see. This is the moment when the balance of power shifts. When you stand in your full authority, you expose the darkness that they've been hiding in, and that exposure is their undoing. When you become the hunter instead of the prey, you no longer run from the truth. You don't shy away from uncomfortable realities. You face them head on. You don't cower at the sight of the manipulator's shadowy tactics. You step directly into that shadow and declare the light of truth. You walk in the knowledge that God has armed you with everything you need to overcome whatever is placed before you. And as you walk, you begin to see the manipulators start to unravel. Their webs of lies begin to collapse. The stories they have told themselves and everyone around them start to lose their power. They can no longer keep you captive because you've stepped out of the cage they created for you. You are no longer subject to their whims, their desires, their emotional traps. You are free. This freedom is not just a state of being. It is a way of living. It is a new way of thinking, of moving, of acting. You become unapologetic in your truth, unafraid to live authentically, to express who you truly are, and to pursue the purpose God has set before you. No longer will you shrink in the face of adversity. No longer will you second guess yourself. You are a force to be reckoned with, and the manipulators will learn that they are powerless against the strength that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. And as you step into your full authority, you realize that it's not just about silencing the manipulators in your life. It's about silencing the manipulations of fear, doubt, insecurity, and confusion that may have been planted in your own heart. Sometimes, the most dangerous manipulators are the ones that live inside of us. The voices of self-doubt, the whispers of insecurity, the internal accusations that seek to rob us of our peace and joy. But when you realize that you have been armed by God to silence the manipulators once and for all, you begin to see that this battle is not just external, it's internal as well. You must confront the lies you've believed about yourself. You must expose the toxic beliefs that have kept you from stepping into the fullness of your destiny. And in doing so, you free yourself from the internal chains that have bound you for so long. The power of this realization is not just in its truth, it is in its application. It's in the way that you begin to speak life into every area of your existence. When you start declaring the truth of who you are, who God says you are, and the power you have to overcome, you begin to shape your reality. You begin to create a life that aligns with the truth you now know. No longer will you be at the mercy of the manipulators, whether they are external or internal. You are the one who holds the pen to your story, and you are writing a narrative that reflects the strength, the courage, and the authority of the Almighty. When you step into your full power, the world will begin to notice. The manipulators will no longer have a place at the table of your life. They will no longer hold sway over your decisions, your emotions, or your actions. You have taken back control, and the very nature of your existence will radiate with the confidence that comes from knowing you are aligned with your true purpose. And in that alignment, you will see doors open that you never thought possible, opportunities arise that you could have never imagined, and relationships that are based on truth, mutual respect, and love will begin to flourish. The journey ahead may not always be easy. There will be challenges. There will be moments when the manipulators try to reassert their control. But you will face each challenge with the knowledge that you have been armed with everything you need to succeed. You will face each moment with courage, with wisdom, and with strength. And when you look back on this moment, you will realize that it was in the darkest moments, the moments when the manipulators thought they had won, that you became the hunter, that you became the one who took back your power. And in that power, you found your true freedom. This is your time. This is your moment to step into the fullness of the life you were always meant to live. And nothing, no one, can ever take that away from you. For you have now tapped into a power far greater than anything the manipulators can comprehend. You have moved beyond their reach. The very fabric of their influence, woven so carefully and insidiously around your mind, is now unraveled, thread by thread. You see the lies for what they are, and you know the truth for what it is. The truth that you are always meant for something greater. The truth that you were not created to be controlled, to be a victim in someone else's game. You were created for purpose, for strength, and for victory. And nothing, not a single force on this earth, not a single whisper of the enemy, can steal the truth of who you are from you. You have been armed, and you stand as a warrior, standing tall against every form of manipulation that seeks to bend you. You see, the manipulators rely on your ignorance, your doubts, your insecurities. They exploit your weaknesses, your fears, and your moments of vulnerability. They surround you with confusion, casting shadows of doubt, so that you can no longer see clearly. In their eyes, you are just another pawn in their intricate, self-serving schemes. They don't care for your truth. They don't care for your well-being. They care only for their own needs, their own desires. But now, you see through their games. You understand their strategies. The fog has lifted. Your mind is sharp. And with clarity comes the power to decide whether you will continue to let them manipulate you, or whether you will take back your life and silence their voices once and for all. You have been given the tools. You have been equipped with the courage to confront your fears, the wisdom to discern between truth and falsehood, and the strength to stand in your full authority. You are no longer bound by their expectations. You are no longer shackled by their manipulation. They no longer have a claim over your heart, your mind, or your future. You stand as a free, powerful being made in the image of your Creator, who has already given you everything you need to thrive. But here's the key. It's not enough to simply realize that you have been armed with power. You must take action. You must step into the fullness of that power. The manipulators know how to twist words, to use guilt, shame, and fear as weapons. But when you rise above those tactics, when you stand firm in the truth that you have been given, their weapons lose their potency. The lies they use to control you will no longer affect you. The manipulation will bounce off you like arrows falling to the ground, harmless. Your silence in the face of their chaos is your greatest weapon. Your refusal to be dragged into their toxic games speaks volumes about your strength and your resolve. You see, it's not just the external manipulators you have to deal with. It's also the internal ones, the voices in your head, the ones that whisper that you're not good enough, that you can't achieve what you were meant to do, that you'll never be strong enough to silence the manipulations around you. These internal manipulations are just as powerful, just as insidious as any external ones. They take root in your thoughts, in your heart, and in your soul, whispering lies to you when you're most vulnerable. But here's the truth. The internal manipulator is nothing more than a reflection of the external ones. And just as you've silenced the voices of the manipulators in your life, you can silence the voices within. It's time to confront those lies head on, to recognize them for what they are. Lies. The voice that says you are not enough, that is a lie. The voice that tells you that you will never succeed, that is a lie. The voice that tells you that you are broken, that you cannot overcome what has been done to you, that is a lie. These voices come from the same source as the manipulators who seek to control you. They come from the enemy of your soul, who would rather see you defeated than empowered. But when you take a stand, when you silence the lies within and around you, you reclaim your power. And when you reclaim your power, you take back your future. You take back your destiny. It's time to stop being afraid of your own strength. For too long, you may have feared what would happen if you fully embraced the authority God has given you. You may have worried that standing in your full power would mean alienating people, upsetting the status quo, or rocking the boat. But here's the thing. Your strength, your power, your authenticity, they will never diminish others unless you allow them to. When you walk in the truth of who you are, when you stand tall in the authority that God has placed upon you, it does not take away from anyone else's worth. In fact, it elevates you, and in doing so, it elevates everyone around you. When you walk in truth, you become an example. You become a beacon of light for others to follow. You become the proof that it is possible to break free from manipulation and to live authentically with purpose and strength. Your very presence is a testimony to the power of standing firm in your truth. You inspire others to step into their own power, to rise above the lies and the manipulation, to reclaim what the enemy has stolen from them. And the more you stand in that power, the more you encourage others to do the same. This is the ripple effect of living in the fullness of your authority. It doesn't just affect you, it changes the world around you. But standing in your authority doesn't mean you'll never face challenges. It doesn't mean that the manipulators will simply disappear. No, they will fight to regain their control. They will attempt to undermine you, to bring you back into their webs. But the difference now is that you are no longer susceptible to their tactics. You are no longer afraid of their threats. You understand that their words are empty. You understand that their manipulation only works if you allow it to work, and you no longer allow it. There will be moments when you feel tired. There will be moments when you wonder if it's all worth it, when you question if the fight is worth the pain. But let me remind you, every time you stand firm in the face of manipulation, every time you reject the lies that the world tries to feed you, you are growing stronger. You are becoming the person you were always meant to be. The battle may be hard, but it is a battle that you will win, not because of your own strength, but because of the strength that God has placed in you. His power is limitless, and it flows through you. It is the strength that will carry you through every obstacle, every lie, every attempt at manipulation. And with each victory, you become more and more confident in your ability to silence the manipulations of the world. And here's the final truth. The manipulators, those who have tried to control, to deceive, to bend you to their will eventually realize that their games no longer have any effect on you. They will see that their power has been stripped away. And in that moment, you will not have to lift a finger to expose them. They will expose themselves. Their lies will unravel on their own. Their webs will collapse without any help from you. Your silence, your strength, your refusal to engage in their games will be all the proof the world needs to see that they were never in control. The very fact that you have walked away from their manipulation will be enough to show them that you are no longer their prey. You are the hunter. You have won. You are free. And no one can ever take that away from you. This is your life. This is your moment. This is your time to rise up and take your place among those who walk in their full authority, who walk in the truth of who they are. Stand firm in that truth. Stand firm in that truth. Stand firm in that power, and watch as the world around you begins to change, as the manipulators begin to fall, as your destiny unfolds before you. This is your victory. This is your journey. And with God by your side, there is nothing that can stop you. Nothing. In the end, remember this. You have been armed by God with everything you need to rise above the manipulations, the lies, and the forces that have tried to control you. The power to silence the manipulators lies within you, and with clarity, courage, and unwavering strength, you can step into your full authority. You are no longer the prey, but the hunter. Your truth is your weapon, and it cannot be taken from you. Stand firm in the light of that truth, for it will guide you to the life you were always meant to live. Victory is yours, and nothing in this world can ever take that away.